It's Tuesday, so it must be acrepro buy sell. I know this is at least for me, I enjoy this time just chatting with Tom. We come up with some fun and different silly things, not always silly, but what we think are interesting are buy sell or will it happen, will it not happen moments for Purdue football as we enter week 6, right? And the Boilermakers take on Iowa this week. We'll hash that over as well. We want to thank our good friends and sponsors, Kyle Spray and the folks at acrepro Midwest Farm Group, your local farmland specialists with decades of experience in Indiana agriculture. No one knows the market better, whether you're doing a 1031 exchange or simply buying and selling farmland. Your local acrepro agent will walk the land with you and ensure the deal is done right. You can visit acrepro.com or you can call Kyle at 765-775-6502. Yeah, one of the things is this is the ultimate revisionist show, Tom, because we can go. Last week we're saying, I don't know, Purdue's going to get to a bowl. Now, all of a sudden, a win and a decisive win, a 44-19 win over Illinois, and things look different as of this Tuesday, the 3rd of October. All right, we'll start with that. All right, are we going to revise? 6 wins. Do the Boilermakers make it from today's world? Now, again, knowing that in all likelihood, I think they have a chance to be favored in the 3 November games. And then you got to look at Iowa and Nebraska as games that you can get. Purdue only a 4-point underdog this week, thinking that Ohio State and Michigan are really long shots. That's stating the obvious. All right, are you buying or selling? Is Tom Dienhart going to be going bowling this year somewhere in December? Oh, I lost you there for a second. Yep. You hearing me?
Yeah, you froze up a little bit there.
Yeah, okay. Maybe my wonderful internet. Go ahead, though. Are you buying or selling that they're going to make it to a bowl?
I'm going to say I'm back on the bandwagon, Alan. I think this game Saturday is very winnable. Cade McNamara, their quarterback, out, banged up in the backfield. I know the offensive line's got some nicks. Their tight end, Luke Lachey's been out. Very compromised Iowa offense. So, yeah, I think Purdue's got a good chance to win. And the game in Nebraska as well. The Huskers certainly aren't world beaters either. And then you talked about November games, goes Minnesota, at Northwestern, Indiana, those last 3. So Purdue's got 2 already, Alan. They need 4 more. And there may be 5 games here I just talked about where Purdue's got a good chance to win. So, yeah, color me positive, color me on the bandwagon for Purdue making a bowl by getting to at least 6 wins this year.
I'm going to be a contrarian only because I want to see another week. I think winning at Nebraska. I mean, my gosh, the Cornhuskers are under Matt Rule are seem to be really struggling. Mm-hmm. I like Purdue's chances, but and especially coming off a bye, that I think would help. But I just want to see one more data point before I start to buy that one. And that doesn't necessarily mean a win in Iowa City. I think it's how Purdue plays. I mean, I think you're right. If any team was any more ripe for the picking, it's Iowa this week with their injury situations.
Look at the quarterbacks, Alan. Look at the quarterbacks in the Big Ten West.
Oh, I know.
It's an utter abomination. I mean, Hudson Card and everybody else. I mean, we saw, Luke Altmaier last week, Northwestern, Minnesota, Nebraska,
all struggling at best.
All struggling. So again, maybe it's an oversimplification, but having a quarterback who's a cut above like Hudson Card is going to give Purdue, I think, a leg up on all these Big Ten West matches.
All right, you and I, we do things like this because we look back in the day. But 2 names come out as guys that have come off the bench to really hurt Purdue in the 21st century, and that would be Gary Godsey, tight end at Notre Dame in 2000, where he comes off the bench, didn't really do anything statistically, but they beat Purdue and they gained like 150 yards and still beat Notre Dame, beats Purdue and Drew Brees up in South Bend. And then a guy named Rocky Lombardi, after Purdue had beaten Ohio State in the famous Tyler Trent game back in 2018, comes off the bench. I think it might have been about his only start, one of his few starts, I should say, at Michigan State, and plays well enough to kind of drub Purdue in a game that a lot of Purdue folks thought the Boilermakers could win in Spartan Stadium. Is Deacon Hill that guy in terms of that? And we're not predicting wins and losses just yet. Is Deacon Hill going to throw for over 100 for 200 yards against Purdue? He's a big, strong guy, as I understand. And Iowa's got to find a way to move the football. Caleb Williams is out. Do you think he throws? Are you buying or selling? He throws for over 200 against Purdue.
I'm selling that. It's not going to happen. Ideally for Purdue not to get off on a tangent here, they get a lead, right? They make Deacon Hill try to be Dan Marino. Yeah. I don't think that's capable. Deacon Hill was at Wisconsin, Alan, and he was going to transfer to Fordham of all places, FCS school in the Bronx, Vince Lombardi's alma mater. Battering Rams, the Fordham Rams. So then Iowa pulled him out. So 6'3", 250, sort of looks like Jared Lorenzen a little bit. If you remember Jared Lorenzen, the old great Kentucky quarterback. I don't think so. The receiving corps at Iowa is very pedestrian. I mentioned Luke Lachey, Jim Lachey's son, the old Ohio State offensive lineman. Luke Lachey's been out with an injury as well. Great tight end. Very compromised skill position as far as Iowa goes. And I don't think Deacon Hill's got the weapons, number one. I don't think he's got the skill set, number two. And Alan, Ryan Walters is salivating here. I was thinking about this last night. He's probably dialing up all types of pressures for this kid. He's going to try to confuse him. He's going to bring some heat on him, Alan. We saw it last week.
Yes.
I asked Ryan Monday if the defense was more aggressive. I thought it was as far as blitzes go. He said it was. And again, this quarterback is very inexperienced. So Ryan Walters is very experienced at what he does. So I look for him to get after this guy, get in his head, hit him, maybe force some turnovers. It's homecoming up there in Kinnick. I know it's a tough environment, Alan, but my gosh, the point spread went from Iowa +4 to I think Iowa +2 or so. Give me the points if that's the case in Purdue. I think the boys got a great shot here. I'm just not sure how Iowa's going to score, Alan. And I know Purdue's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Purdue to score too, but low scoring game. But my gosh, I really like Purdue's chances here because of Iowa's vulnerability on offense.
Yeah, the over-under at 36. I might be thinking about the under in that one also. I think it was at 36, which is typical for Iowa because it was 36 last week, I think, in their game as well. Yeah, that's it. There are so many interesting storylines because Tyrone Tracy goes back to his former place. Purdue has certainly benefited from Iowa transfers. Of course, Charlie Jones last year made such a huge impact at an All-American level for the Boilermakers. Tyrone Tracy may not be an All-American this year, but he is making a huge impact. All right, are you buying or selling that Tyrone Tracy, this is going to get in the end zone? Will he get to dance in the end? Tyrone's a pretty straightforward guy, but is he going to be able to celebrate in the end zone of Kinnick Stadium on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm buying that. He's got a rushing touchdown on all 5 games this year. I think he's going to make it 6 for 6. He's going to be stoked out of his mind to go back to Kinnick Stadium. He spent 4 years in Iowa City, Allen, from Decatur Central High School south of Indianapolis. He was a running back in high school.
Right.
Wanted to switch to wide receiver and just never really got a lot of traction up there. He comes to Purdue last year. It was really a non-factor, to be honest with you, still playing wide receiver. And this staff made him a full-time running back this spring, and here we are. He's off and away, and one of the bigger surprises on this roster, Alan. And, like I said, he's feeling it right now, and he's going to be extra motivated. I think he will be getting a chance to go back before his old fan base, some old teammates, old coaches, kind of strut his stuff and show everybody what he's all about. So I think he's going to score a TD out. I think he may even go back-to-back 100-yard games here.
All right. I see a 14-9, 17-12 type game if Purdue gets out of there alive. Though, it's funny, and when Purdue pulled the big upset, I know this is Jeff Brom era stuff, but in 2021, that final was 24-7. So it's just not points.
I wonder, Alan, when's the last time Purdue won a game scoring less than 20 points, I wonder?
Well, it's the forest for the trees, 13-9 over Illinois, right? That was 2018 or 19.
That's 5
under
years ago.
Braun. Yeah, but now it's been a while, and that may be it. But you're right. It could happen. It could definitely happen this time in terms of now you've got me thumbing through the media guide trying to do a podcast at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of
trying not to do.
Yeah, I'm interested.
But it is a hard thing to do. But Purdue did win that 24-7 win at Iowa, and I think they had a 13-9 score in there. Was that COVID year? I'm debating here of what I know, but it was that type of situation where the Boilermakers, I'm looking it up right now, and it was. Why do I keep thinking? Maybe I'm totally wrong on the 13-9, but it isn't happening very often. That is for sure. And you have a chance to do. And you have a chance to. I know Purdue lost to Wisconsin 17-9 in Jeff Brom's first year.
17.
And while I am dreaming this up, they had a 24-7 to win over Iowa. But it is a situation where it's doesn't happen very often.
Not for Purdue. No, they don't win many games without scoring at least 20.
Yep, and that is. And I think I just totally dreamed that up 13-9 score. So I'm dead wrong. All right, let's look at the whole situation with Tracy and Devin Mockobee.
Yeah,
both those guys have been productive. We could do a buy sell. Will Devin Mockobee put it on the turf? I'll throw that out to you. Will he put it on the turf this week? I should say. And as good as Devin Mockobee is, we all know that's something that, from a Purdue perspective, that needs to stop if the Boilermakers are going to get what they need to get out of this game in Iowa City.
I'm going to sell it. I think he's going to get it buttoned up this week. 6 fumbles this year, Alan. He fumbled last week again. I thought maybe they'd put him on the bench. Maybe I wonder if we'd see him the rest of the game, but Purdue went right back to Devin. Maybe a series or two right after that. Even let him carry the ball on the goal line and scored a touchdown. So that was good to see. I think they realize they need Devin Mockobee. We all know that, right? We've seen number 45 now for over a year. We know what he's about. We know his playmaking ability, that burst, that energy, that go the distance ability as well. And, it's no secret now. Iowa's got their scouting report. They're going to be going after that ball when he carries it. But I think he'll be even more mindful this week. And I think he'll avoid that fumbleitis that has really plagued him so far this year. Really, it's cost him his number one starting job to Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I think Devin Mockobee, and by the way, I'm now back. September 25th, 2021, they did beat Illinois 13-9 in West Lafayette. So good. I wasn't losing my head. Michigan State in the famous Casey Welch field goal, famous 2006, that 17-15 game. No, I'm with you on that notion that I think, and it's really going to be interesting in terms of the Mockobee Tracy dynamic, because Tracy has really done a great job running the football. Has shown that he's elusive, shown he can break tackles, different type of runner. But and maybe I'm just blinded by what I see. I still see Mockobee's your guy that could rip off 150 yards easier than Tracy, and I may be dead wrong on that, but just past looking at the eyeball test, I still see Mockobee as your higher end potential. But Tracy has been extremely impressive, just running the football between the tackles and finding ways to get in, break a tackle, a linebacker tackle 4 yards past the line and turning it into a 12-yard gain. He's done a great job with that. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch from that standpoint. I think that it will be it's a good problem to have, and Dylan Downing continues to contribute in small doses, but in certain situations. And I think that part is going to do it. All right. Garrett Miller had his first touchdown reception of the season. And as of right now, Max Clare not looking good. I don't know if that's fair to say, whether he's going to be back. It looked like almost like a hyperextended knee. I know that might have, God forbid, from a Purdue perspective, that it's an ACL, though. He was jogging on the sidelines. I know Chad Crockover, our crack photographer, was reporting that to us during the game. I don't know what that means, But my question is Garrett Miller. Iowa's famous for its tight ends. Purdue wants to play that game a little bit. Hudson Card wants to, we've talked about Garrett Miller being that target. I'm going to throw another buy sell. 5 catches for Garrett Miller this week. Buying or selling?
I'm going to buy that, Alan. Just given the murky status of Max Clare. On Monday, Ryan Walters said they were still trying to get a real diagnosis on Max, and I agree with you. Looked like a hyperextended knee. Even if he can go, how effective will he be? I don't know. I'm making a lot of speculations here on what the.
That's all we do.
But I think I think Garrett Miller's slowly kind of getting back into rhythm. I think it's taken him a while mentally to get over this knee injury. And I think maybe we could see even more increased production from him as the season goes on. And he could be a real weapon. I think he will be. He'll need to be a real weapon against this Iowa defense. It's very formidable. Phil Parker is a great defensive coordinator. Bend but don't break defense. And boy, a guy like Garrett Miller can take a lot of pressure off a quarterback, especially on 3rd down, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. And this could be a real statement game for Garrett Miller. It'd be a great time for him to really break out and have his best game of the year. And that Iowa defense is going to be focused on number 4, Deion Burks. So there could be a lot of room for a guy like Garrett Miller, who's a mismatch waiting to happen with linebackers especially. Could be a real opportunity for number 88, Garrett Miller, to really break out with a 5+ catch game here in Iowa City.
Yeah. Last week, of course, after Claire's injury, Miller plays 35 plays according to our PFF statistics. Gus Hartwig played all 74. So that was certainly a good sign that Purdue's, that line has certainly played better last week. And I think that will be a key thing as the Boilermakers continue. I was going to do a buy sell with a Gus Hart. I didn't realize that Hartwick had played all 74.
Too, Al, we saw Luke Griffin play. I think 70 snaps in the place of Jalen Grant. That wasn't because of injury. Jalen Grant's really been the guy who's struggled up front. So Luke Griffin had been playing good in practice, playing well in practice. So he got to play a big role. The Missouri transfer last week. I think that'll continue. He's a real big body, Alan. Real big body. We got to tip our hat to that O-line, I think, a little bit. It gets its criticism. But they did pretty well against Illinois, which has 2 NFL, I think, defensive linemen. Maybe this is a buy sell. Will Iowa get a sack? This is incredible to me. I was talking to Tom Kakert, who covers Iowa for Hawkeye Report. He said Iowa does not have a sack against a Power 5 opponent this year.
Yeah.
I think they're last in sacks. Think about that. Purdue's offensive line certainly had its struggles protecting. Go back to that Wisconsin game. So that'll be interesting to see. Buy, sell, Alan. What do you think? Is Iowa going to get to Hudson Card and sack them?
I think they will, because I think they're talking about it now, and Kirk Ferentz and Phil Parker will get that done, because they're probably now starting to hear about that thing. Hey, what's going on here? You guys don't have a sack, and that's not. I think that they do get that. How many did Illinois have last week? Do you
think they had
2?
Yeah, it wasn't very many. I know Purdue had 5 sacks and they had 7 TFLs. Here are the stats. Illinois had Illinois sacks. Well, that's not right there. They got their sack yardage. They had, let me go to this comparison thing. But yeah, I think the offensive line did a good job keeping things buttoned up pretty well.
And I think that's I just think that they'll get one, because
they had 2. They had 2 sacks.
That's what I thought. And again, and they'll probably try to dial up something. But Hudson Card, we talked about, if they had an all Big Ten team for the West Division, be hard pressed to he's been good. He seems to be getting more and more comfortable in terms of that. Last one that I can think of right now, buy, sell, Hudson Card running the football. And Iowa's, again, pretty gap integrity defensively. And yet you want to be able to get, and Card's got to be careful about, we've talked about that, about making sure he stays healthy. 30 yards or more rushing for Hudson Card, buy or sell?
I'm gonna sell that ideally. If that does happen, I think it's going to come off of just improvisation, scrambles. Yeah, and I think it's the sack yardage. I think he will get sacked down. That could sort of chip into whatever rushing numbers he gets as well. So yeah, again, I don't think he's going to get to that figure of 30. I'm going to sell that. And man, you gotta be careful. I mean, you can't play scared, right? But just think how the complexion of the season changes if he gets hurt. Look what's happened to Iowa. I mean, it's going to be the case for most of these teams if you lose your starting quarterback. But yeah, you want to be judicious with how you use him as a runner, and maybe 2 or 3 times on a read option he keeps it. But other than that, the only time I want him running again is just an improvisational scramble. So again, I don't think he's going to get to that 30-yard figure though, as far as rushing goes on Saturday.
I think Iowa will button him down. I agree with that, and you're right. I don't think there's going to be a lot of design. And Iowa's extremely physical defensively. Again, you got to keep him healthy. And Purdue's had injuries. David Blau had a bad injury against Iowa. I know that's Iowa plays that way. And Purdue quarterbacks, you just don't want to have that happen. You want to avoid that at all costs if you're Purdue to keep Hudson Card. Yeah.
Now that Iowa defense on the secondary, Cooper DeJean, they've got great cornerbacks. Like you talked about the over/under, man. This game's going to be tight. It could come down to turnovers. Games typically do. Purdue got better with turnovers last week. But man, again, I think Iowa's really going to struggle to score. And I think Purdue, even though they are fully healthy, Allen, I think it's going to be a challenge for them to score against this Iowa defense too.
And John, they had a punt return for a touchdown last week against Michigan State.
Yeah, special teams and defense always score for Iowa. It's uncanny, and then
it goes back to and again we're dating ourselves. Tim Dwight, who was a really good player there. 1997, Purdue rolls in there at a 6-1 record, and
I remember that.
Everybody's going great, leading at the half, and I think he returned the opening kick in the second half against Joe Tiller. And the Boilermakers got run out of Iowa City in the second half in that game. Again, Iowa, that formula, even though that was Hayden Fry's second to last year, that formula really hasn't changed much. I got one last comment, was just really interesting on Monday that to me that Ryan Walters said they don't really care what people say, being Kirk Ferentz and Brian Ferentz. There's been so much written about, will he keep his job? He's got to average 25 points a game. They're below that figure right now. But Kirk Ferentz is they're going to do what they do. And they know the full well that, like I said, they need to win a 12-9 game. If they do have to do that, that's what they're going to do on Saturday against Purdue. It's no beauty contest when you play Iowa City.
Win's a win, Alan. He's been doing it for 24 years, 1999. A long time ago, buddy. 1999.
Started it with a 1-11 record too, I believe.
Yeah, it's not real pretty, but they get wins. I know the fan base gets riled up. Fan bases always get sick of you, no matter who you are, right?
Yeah.
After 24 years.
Yeah, you lose 5% a year, and if you do that, you're well past your welcome. So absolutely.
So but it's a formula that's worked. So. It is what it is. You have to embrace who you are. What is your identity as a program? I was not going to throw it for 500 yards. It's almost like I was talking to somebody yesterday. It's almost like 1985 football as far as the offense goes. Play action. They usually use a fullback and punch you in the nose. So, and then the defense never goes out of style, right? And the special teams, they really embrace special teams too. So, yeah, maybe it could be that return game. Tyrone Tracy's ran a kickoff back for Purdue this year. So who knows? Maybe we'll see a special play on special teams.
1985 Iowa football was Chuck Long at quarterback and finished second or third in the Heisman voting. And they were ranked number 1 for a lot of that year until the end of the season, as I recall. But that's and the uniforms haven't changed much. No. Not a whole lot has changed at Iowa, but they've had a lot of success. And you're right, even Joe Tiller, his last years. Not that they were going to, Joe probably didn't coached a year shorter than he wanted to at Purdue. That's not all that big a trade secret. And the notion that coaches lose a little bit of equity each year when And yeah, I can remember Joe Tiller talking about that first 4 years. Man, that's great. We got to the Rose Bowl, but that can hurt you on the back end because that's the expectation. Kirk Ferentz has won a couple Big Ten championships, has been extremely successful there, but they ain't very exciting right now, and that presents a problem over time.
Think about this, Alan. Jeff Brom went 4-2 against Iowa. How about that?
Yeah.
Purdue's won 2 of its last 3 games up in Kinnick Stadium too.
And yet from 1981 to 2016,
it was bad.
Purdue was really struggling. Of course, Purdue, when we were growing up, Purdue beat Iowa 20 straight years from 61 to 80. But from 81 on, and Hayden Fry and Kirk Ferentz for the most part just dominated Purdue, but not.
Remember, I was there in 1983 when Purdue went up there with Eric Hunter. I think Eric Hunter was 2 of 7 passing, and Purdue beat him.
Yeah. Oh, and in 92,
1993. It was 1993.
Yeah. And right, that was a rare win there against a decent Iowa team as well. And Jim Coletto and company got the job done. So we love to digress on this show. That's our favorite thing to do. But we want to thank our good friends at acrepro and Kyle Spray and company. Remember, if you're looking for, or acrepro is your Midwest farm, local farmland specialist, and you can call them at and Kyle Spray at 765-775-6502 or visit acrepro.com. We'll be back next week. There's always something interesting to talk about, and we can blow smoke with the best of them. That's what we try to do. Another Peacock game. We could do the over-under on that. I know that the Peacock news is supposedly coming out on basketball. We heard yesterday there might be about 6 or 7 games on Peacock this year. That will stir up our website, I promise you. You know what? I don't love it, but I'm gonna cobble together $6 to get it because it's the way the world works, and streaming will happen more than less down the road. So, all right, guys, Tom, thanks so much, and we will see you next week for another stellar edition of Buy Sell. And again, thanks to acrepro.com for making it happen.